Well, for more on this and the issue of cybersecurity and how well defended we are, I'm joined now by former Defence Minister Joel Fitzgibbon. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure, David.
Were you surprised by these reports?
David, can I start by saying that as a former Defence Minister, I bring to an interview an insider's knowledge, but I also bring a responsibility to respect the secrecy of our intelligence organisations. What I can say is that there have been some allegations, some obviously very serious allegations, and if they are well founded, then this should be of great concern to all of us.
This claim that blueprints would have been stolen of a building that's yet to be moved into by ASIO, a big $630 million building here in Canberra. How alarming would that be if true, that those floor plans, communications networks in the building had been stolen?
Well, it'd be extremely alarming. I do note that in some of the reports there's a suggestion that I suppose a senior officer went outside the system emailing something to his home address. Now, that brings both confidence and greater concern. One, he shouldn't be doing that and the system shouldn't allow him to, but at least it shows that it was sort of some form of human error, if that allegation is correct.
How would you characterise China's cyber activities?
Very busy. And it's important to acknowledge that cyber in the 21st century is as important as a platform as those assets we have at sea and in the air and indeed on land, just as important as our air warfare destroyers.
But are we as secure as some of those other areas?
I don't think we can be. I don't think we can be as secure as we'd like to be. And I'm sure the United States can't be as secure as it would like to be. Now, the debate today has been about whether we're spending enough money in this space or not at the moment. Really, it's
and what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a false debate. I think what we should be debating is how much we need to spend into the future. And, you might say how long is a piece of string. Obviously, we are limited in what we can spend. But what we do know is that the threat is growing exponentially. And therefore, while I wouldn't suggest the expenditure should grow exponentially, it indicates to us that the expenditure should be increasing to a fairly significant level.
Well, the point is it was increased by 10% in the budget handed down a couple of weeks ago, but in the two previous years, funding was cut as part of the efficiency dividend across the board. Was that a mistake?
Well, look, I don't want to get into that debate, and to be honest, I don't know all of the detail, but I do know that the 2009 white paper, was the first to acknowledge the real threat of cyber. It was the first to invest heavily in cyber. We now have two very significant centres here in Canberra that deal with this issue, so we are investing heavily. The question remains, I'm not here to answer it, is are we investing enough? How much do we need to invest? It's a difficult one to answer.
Are we involved in a cyber war?
Oh, I think undoubtedly we are, and the Chinese in particular are very active, not just in Australia but in the United States. It's a problem for us and it's a problem for them.
Why are the Chinese targeting us? Is it because of secrets we have or because we do share some intelligence with the United States?
Well, I don't think we should consider ourselves special. I'm sure the Chinese have interest all around the globe, and of course they do include us, and it does include the United States.
Do we retaliate to cyber attacks? Should we?
I think that would be a difficult question to answer. Suffice to say, we do take it seriously. And the 2009 white paper not only talked about the increasing threat of cyber, it talked very bluntly about the changing shape of the region. And some of the pointy heads criticised the bluntness of that white paper, although I must say I think the robust level of the language used was overstated by some. But we're just stating the reality. And the pivot to Asia out of the United States is very much part of that changing dynamic in the region that the white paper talked about.
Obviously a particular interest for China, what the US is doing in this region, what we're doing in this region as well. If we are involved in a cyber war, should, after reports like this be taken to a diplomatic level? The ambassador, the Chinese ambassador, brought in for a discussion. Well,
the Prime Minister's talked a lot about more transparency and more engagement with China, and of course that is very, very important. But we should not be fearful of saying that we have concerns about cyber attack activity in the region, no matter where it might come from.
But are we, do you think, too careful when it comes to China, too worried about upsetting that important trade relationship?
Well, I think suffice to say that I think the robust level of the language in the 09 white paper was overstated. I think it's fair to say that it was more robust than it was in the more recent 2013 white paper. I think we do need to call a spade a spade. This forced debate about choosing between the US and China is just that. Our security at home lies in our relationship with the United States of America, and we only hold hope of combating what will be a growing cyber threat in cooperation with the United States.
Joel Fitzgibbon, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Dave.